The symptoms of heart attack in women are different than men. Out of the back of the ambulance, straight into theatre, and they fitted 2 stents because one of my arteries was blocked, I think 96%, and the other one was blocked about 90. One of the things I'd studied at A-level was government and politics. So I found watching and being in the same building as the Chancellor and various different people absolutely fascinating. The thing is, the closer you are to it, sometimes after a while the shine wears off because you see beneath. Dealing with really challenging people stuff. I just couldn't do it anymore. And what I realised afterwards is you really need to be the CEO of your own body. One of my tutors for hypnotherapy used to use the phrase that the mind is the best special effects system. It's much better than George Lucas or Steven Spielberg. It can conjure up all sorts of things, but your body just follows it.
Today's episode is for high-functioning women who feel exhausted, overwhelmed, or constantly on, women who are ready to move beyond coping and people-pleasing into presence and embodied self-trust. Edith Chislett is a mind-body practitioner and a former senior communications leader who spent years working at the highest level of government and corporate leadership. From the outside, her life looked successful, but inside, her body was carrying the cost. A powerful wake-up call forced Edith to stop and listen. What followed was a profound reconnection with her body, her values, and what truly mattered, and the creation of her work at the intersection of heart, mind, and body. This conversation is an invitation to stop fixing yourself, start listening, and discover what becomes possible when you come home to yourself. I remember you said the moment the ambulance doors closed, you realize you only have one thought. It's so good to be alive.
Yeah. If I could tell my younger self something, it would be not to wait for permission to do what's in your heart, because I think I spent a lot of time waiting for permission.
Edith, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here. Really
I'm
delightful.
really excited to have you here because when I read your profile, I feel you are truly an embodiment of being fearless, limitless, and ageless.
I hope so. I try. Anyway.
Because I know you had quite a hard upbringing, right, with a lot of limitation and negativity. But you went on to build a very successful career as the leadership team for big corporate and government organization, HMRC, right? So from society's perspective, it was truly very successful. And then life gave you a wake-up call.
Yes. So I'd spent quite a long time, as you said, in government, and then moved over into corporates. I set up my own business. And started doing consultancy work. And I loved it, absolutely adored it, being my own boss. It was brilliant. And then I moved around into different organisations. And in the last role that I was doing, it felt very misaligned with my values. And I was struggling, if I'm honest, with being able to deliver, which I always did. But there was a huge amount of responsibility. And actually, when you're working in misalignment, it has an impact.
There's so much richness of your story.
Yeah.
So that's why I really want our audience to stay with this episode because we have so many, I think, inspiration from you. And you I know you currently use this life transformation to help women, right? And it's very relevant to our life. You said you're helping women to stop coping, fixing, overanalyzing. I think those actually behavior are really relevant to most of the women. We are facing that kind of challenge. And also, I know can we disclose your age?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm happy to. I'm happy
And
to discuss
I know
those.
you're 64.
I am.
And
Yes.
your husband is 18 years younger than you.
Yes. Yeah,
So
that's right.
you really bring so much, I can feel this ageless energy to your life. So that's why I know this is only a kind of really glimpse of your story. So very excited to dive into all the details of your
Okay.
story. And I think, like all the beautiful story, when we start, we always begin with the early years of your journey. So I think maybe we can start from there, like from your upbringing. You can tell us a little bit more about your early years
Okay. Yeah.
as a little girl.
As a little girl. Well, when I was growing up, we moved around quite a lot because of my dad's job. And we moved from Scotland when I was very young, down to the northwest of England. And I had a normal-ish childhood, but my mum was actually very nervous and suffered from anxiety. And over a number of years, things shifted. And when I look back now, I probably recognise that what was happening to my mum was probably she was hitting menopause. Because I was sort of the last child and I was quite a late baby. So my mum was 39, 40 when she had me.
So how many brothers, sisters you have?
I had two sisters, one who's 7 years older than me and the other one was 20 years older than me, but sadly she passed away in 2003. But my mum had quite a challenging upbringing herself, and I think she parented us in a way that the only way she knew how, because nobody gets a parenting manual. You have a child and you're expected to cope. And my mum actually found it very difficult. And at that point, as I said, I think what was actually happening was she hit menopause. And at that time, there was no real support for that. It was just basically, oh, there, dear, and no HRT, nothing like that. So she struggled. And from being somebody who loved looking after the house, like taking care of everything, she stopped doing housework. So if my sister or I wanted anybody to come round, any friends or anything, we would basically have to tidy the house. Or from the age of sort of like 10 to 13, I started going with my dad to do the shopping every week. So it means that you actually adapt and adopt and take on a lot more responsibility than probably you're of an age to do. But she was a lovely woman, and she was very kind, and in a lot of ways, her own life was much smaller than it could have been. And I think that's part of the thing that actually makes me, or made me want to do more, and also makes me want to free other people up to live the life that they love, rather than the life that they feel like they have to. If that.
I resonate a lot with that, because I grew up in very traditional Asian culture, and my mom was a typical tiger mom. So a lot of highly strict, highly demanding, and exactly like you said, there's a lot of duty, responsibility, like clean the house, like even when you were very young, right? And it's always not enough. So, but it's also beautiful, like you said. When you grow up, you reflect back, you realize it's because she didn't know how to love you.
Yeah.
Because she didn't get the love from my grandparents. So yeah, that's, I think, part of also the healing journey. But the result is, like, I'm pretty sure you mentioned you always feel not enough, right? And also you said it. But it's so, I think it's so relevant to, we all have that, like when you were compared with a sister.
Yeah.
Then you feel you are the inferior one, right? So that's how your voice get silenced.
Yeah. because you're compared and you're unfavourably.
Yeah.
So that I think as well. I think when you're younger, and this is something that I would, if I could tell my younger self something, it would be not to wait for permission to do what's in your heart. Because I think I spent a lot of time waiting for permission and waiting for somebody to go, yes, you're really good at that, go do it. Whereas if I'd had the courage and the confidence, I would probably have gone into a much more creative career. But I applied the creativity I'd got within the confines of organisations and cultures as I could.
Yeah.
It's a bit like water. You find ways to move in organisations.
So what was your, because we talk about fearless, right?
Yeah.
What was your deepest fear when you were a little girl?
Not being enough, and being never being able to actually feel like what I did, no matter what it was actually good enough. And I don't know good enough for who, but probably on some level myself. Because I am probably my own worst critic.
But so you are very creative, artistic. But what did you study in the university?
I didn't go to university.
Oh.
I decided not to. I got a place and decided not to go. I was going to study English. So I actually went and got a job and worked in a call centre for a while. And then I decided that I wanted to try and follow the path I wanted to. So I studied acting for 3 years. And then I actually met my first husband whilst I was studying, and decided to stop studying. And not because of him, because he would never have asked me to do that, but just I felt that it was the right thing to do. So I ended up then in a 20-odd year relationship. And we got married sort of 14 years into the relationship, and then separated probably after about 5 or 6 years.
There are a lot of actually also duty, responsibility as the leadership team, and also we discussed about your quite a little bit challenging childhood. So did you see any pattern like really you got from your childhood definitely reflected in your work life in the government?
Yes.
And do you have a lot of fear or like an anxiety from that high level position?
Kind of. I mean, when I was working aligned with the leadership team, so part of it, but kind of the communications function stands to one side, because in a way, because you're there to be objective and to sort of guide people to not want to do what they think is right, but actually look at what the outcome is that they're trying to achieve. So it's quite a strategic role. And sometimes with certain people that you work for, it's a challenge, because having that kind of a role means that you inevitably aren't a yes person, because you can't be, because you're not doing the job properly. So for some people, and there's a couple of people in particular, one person that I can think of who was my boss, I was probably quite challenging for them, without meaning to be in a negative way. But I think because they were quite newly promoted as well, they probably weren't as self-confident as they looked on the outside, because none of us are. And I think that challenge, it created some conflict. And I could take part of the blame for that, because I could have handled things differently as well. And I think the baggage that you bring from childhood influences how you deal with situations like that. And because I felt unconfident as well, it wasn't that wasn't a very happy time in my working career.
So did you find yourself shrink yourself a lot?
It kind of made me more, in some ways, because I felt like what I was doing for the right reasons, I didn't. And that was probably what exacerbated the conflict, because I didn't back down until I was put in a position where I had no choice but to. And it wasn't that I was being argumentative, because I think you probably, from meeting me, you probably realise I'm not that kind of a person. But if I think something's right and it will get a better outcome, I will stand on, I'll put my heart and soul behind it. So I think we were both, neither of us was at our full, neither of us had actually stepped into our full humanness, I would say. And what I mean by that is that we were both in a place where ego was influencing our behaviour for different reasons.
You said your boss.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they were my boss. Yeah.
But did you have a moment you realize your voice really counts? Like you need to express yourself, because I kind of feel you had a long time suppression of your voice and in the upbringing. So did you find that kind of, or what? Did you had a moment you really take that fearless step to voice, being visible? Or
Yeah. Yes, and that was when I decided to. It started off with something silly, really. There was a Children in Need concert, and in terms of my singing voice, we're talking about here, and one of my friends knew that I sang, and she said, would I take part in this concert, which was in the building? And I said yes, automatically, and ended up singing in front of a lot of people that I work with, which was a bit scary, because it's kind of you're becoming a different person in front of them to the person they know. So it's almost like you're adopting a different persona, which was interesting. So,
or maybe this is you. This is the real you. You are just revealing the real you.
Yeah. And I think that was step one, because I hadn't sung for such a long time, and that was in 2014. And then in 2014, later on that year, I made the decision to leave HMRC. So I think that was a pivotal moment, actually taking part in the concert and actually starting to sing again, and actually beginning to slip back into or be more of the person that I really am. So that was probably stage one. Stage two was leaving. Yeah.
But before you were leaving, was that you mentioned it's really a lot of anxiety from that job, right?
Yeah, loads.
Yeah, and
loads.
you were actually a lot. You had a lot of coping.
Yeah, loads of coping. And in fact, the interesting thing, or not, is
So what was the version of you at that time?
The version of me at that time was probably quite stressed, for people. If you actually really knew me, you would know that I was quite stressed, felt quite undermined, pretty unconfident, not settled, generally unhappy and very disconnected is the best way I could put it. But on the outside, because women do, you're the smiles on and
masking.
Masking loads, because everybody, a lot of people who didn't know me would say to me, "You're very zen." Even when on the inside I was a bit like the proverbial swan going like this. So it was a difficult time, and actually it was quite difficult to get out of it unscathed, really, in a way. One of my tutors for hypnotherapy a few years back used to use the phrase that the mind is the best special effects system. It's much better than George Lucas or Steven Spielberg. It can conjure up all sorts of things, but your body just follows it. And I love that. It's stuck in my mind because I think it is a special effects system in your body.
Wow. So your wake-up call, it happened during the time when you were in HMRC, or you left HMRC?
I hadn't left at that point. That was before I left, but that was pretty much the nail in the coffin. I think I had one, maybe two other roles, but that was the beginning of the end, I would say, that encounter. And I struggled for a good 2 or 3 years after that. But the freedom of actually making the decision to leave was one of the hardest things I did, because people used to say to me, you've got HMRC written right through the middle of you like a stick of rock. And they were surprised I was leaving. But it's a choice, you have to choose. I mean, it's a great place to work. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. For the time that I worked there, it was fantastic. And I had some brilliant opportunities to do lots of different things. But when that time, when something's finished, and you hang on to it because you're looking for stability sometimes. But actually that's a mistake, because the tighter you hang on, the harder you get kicked.
That was actually a very fearless move, right? So yeah, you said it brilliantly. You said it was the decision to stay is based on stability, but life has much more.
Yeah, it does. It does, because life is asking a lot of you, but you're also asking a lot of life, because most of us come into this world with I won't say a purpose necessarily, but I think everybody comes into the world with something, at least one thing, that actually lights them up, makes them feel alive, makes you feel like you're plugged into the electric socket.
Yeah.
And there is something in your life that if you think and you feel, that feeling is what it feels like to feel connected to everything.
But at that time, what was that thing that
For me,
made you leave the very stable job?
A deep sense of knowing that it was the right thing to do, but I left and had nothing to do.
Oh, interesting.
So I left, but I booked my now husband and I booked a holiday. We decided we'd do something crazy, so we booked holiday to America and then drove Route 66.
Oh.
But I did it because he doesn't drive, so I did all the driving.
Okay.
Which was awesome. And whilst I was away, I'd created my CV and I just sent it out, and it had gone to this. There was one particular recruiter that for some reason I was drawn to on LinkedIn. You know, you say things happen for a reason. Lovely lady, amazing. And I just phoned her up and said, could we go for coffee? And she was talking to me, and I was telling her what I'd done, and I'd had a lot to do with sort of digital and IT comms and things like that. And I hadn't even done my CV properly. And I said, I'm going on holiday. I'll send it to you when I come back. So when I got back, I got a phone call. This is about 4 weeks later. I got a phone call. Have you got your CV? I said, nearly. And so she said, can you let me have it? Because she'd bumped into somebody at a conference who was looking for somebody with my skill set.
Okay.
And this was this was me going into the first private sector company that I worked for. And it just happened by coincidence or serendipity or whatever you want to call it.
But your wake-up call, the heart attack.
That was later.
That was later.
The heart attack.
That was really a life-changing moment.
That was
right?
massive.
Yeah.
That was massive.
Tell us a bit more about that life-changing moment. How it happened.
So I was working. So having been in private sector companies for quite a while and working in different ones. Over the pandemic, I went to work in a completely different environment, one I'd not worked in before, which was in adult social care. And I absolutely adored it, working over the pandemic with people who were working in care homes, working with social workers, working with the senior management team. Brilliant. I absolutely loved it. But economically, after the end of the pandemic, I couldn't stay for very long. So I started looking around for something else and ended up back in government, but working as a consultant back in government in another government department, which was having quite a hard time and still is having quite a hard time, and doing a job that fundamentally bumped up against my values quite hard. And going into work every day, being in meetings, being in an environment, dealing with really challenging people stuff, I just couldn't do it anymore. And I got to the point where it was making me feel ill being there, and I could see other people, it was impacting other people as well. And I was the well-being lead because I'd stepped into the role. And I just thought, it's not right. And I was trying to stand up for other people. And ironically, the one that needed most help was me. So
What did you feel at the time?
Tense all the time. Physically, really bad shoulder pain. Just this like knot in my stomach, never really relaxing. My brain would not switch off. It was on overdrive all the time. And just in fight or flight all the time. So, you know, digestive issues, the whole kind of physical thing about being under stress and pressure. And it sort of came to a head over a weekend, and I hadn't been feeling great. And in fact, I'll just discuss this slightly, because the signs the symptoms of heart attack in women are different than men. They're, you know, the classic clutching your chest thing, not women. So women, it's often digestive, it's sort of like indigestion, it can be shoulder pain, like I had shoulder pain in my right shoulder that I couldn't get rid of. Even if you take paracetamol, it wouldn't go. This real feeling, not being able to get comfortable in any position that you sit in. And then on the day that I had the heart attack itself...
But those are also easily ignored.
Well, I ignored them. Because
Okay.
I'd been having them for a few days. I'd been having those symptoms for a few days, and I'd even helped sort of my neighbour move some things at the weekend. We'd had a barbecue and just had our neighbour over. But it was only, like one person. And I just didn't feel right at all. But I couldn't put my finger on why. But I just felt awful. And then on the Monday morning, when I put the phone down and said, I've got another call or something, just to get them off the call, because they wouldn't have known what was happening because I didn't tell them. I came out of my office, and my husband bumped into me on the landing, and he said, "Are you all right?" And I just said, "No, I don't think I am." And I couldn't get warm. I was freezing. I had a cold sweat, and this horrendous feeling of dread. Absolutely horrendous feeling of dread. And so we phoned the ambulance. The ambulance came, and they took me 20 miles to the main hospital with the lights flashing and the flying round corners and things. And when I got there, I wasn't admitted. They just basically took me off the back of out of the back of the ambulance straight into theatre. And they fitted 2 stents because one of my arteries was blocked, I think 96%, and the other one was blocked about 90%. So both on the right side.
Oh my God.
So I was very, very, very lucky. But for some weird reason, when I was going to hospital, and it wasn't because I had loads of drugs or anything, because I told them I didn't really want it, because I wasn't in a huge amount of pain. And this is what I mean about women's heart attacks. Don't follow the pattern you see on TV or in films. So I wasn't in a lot of pain, and they wanted to give me morphine when I was in the back of the ambulance, and I went, well, I don't really need any. Well, we'll just give you a little bit. I said, well, don't give me a lot, because I don't want to sort of be under... I want to be awake. And so I was not argumentative, but I just didn't want to be knocked out. But I just knew I'd be all right, because it's so much so.
You also said, I remember you said, the moment the ambulance doors closed, you realize you only have one thought.
Yeah.
It's so good to be alive.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. It makes you realise all the things you take for granted, because you take your body for granted often, or I did. I can only talk about my own experience, I guess. And I took my body for granted for a long time. And what I realised afterwards, when I'd had the heart attack, is you really need to be the CEO of your own body. Because whilst the NHS is amazing, and I owe the cardiologist who operated on me, I owe him my life without being too dramatic. You are responsible for prevention and understanding what's going on in your own body, because you only get one body. You can't pop out to the shops and buy another one. This is it for life.
You said it's not a vehicle.
No.
It's our partner.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It is our partner.
So what is the biggest, you shared some, well, what is one thing you draw from that life-changing event? If you want to share with our audience, what is the biggest takeout?
The biggest one overall, I think, is that your mind and your body are absolutely connected. And I alluded to it before a little bit when I said I spent a lot of time up here and living from up here, not down here. And your mind and your body are absolutely connected. You cannot do one without the other. And they're beginning to, like, research now is beginning to show that you've almost got three brains almost. You've got your mind, you've got your heart, because there's also messages from your heart to your brain, and your gut, because there's gut-brain messages, and actually the gut sends more messages to the brain than vice versa. So you are living in an interconnected system that actually is quite sophisticated. It's incredibly intelligent if you listen. Your body is your biggest ally. And I think that's the biggest lesson, that not to take that for granted, and to do what I've done since the heart attack is I spent a lot of time in the first year, apart from all of the other things I did, but looking at nutrition and actually learning a lot more about nutrition and how the body works and things like the biochemical things that happen in your body. And because I think we have access to so much information now, and to turn that lens on yourself and how you work, it might sound a bit self-indulgent, but actually, if you can make yourself the best you can possibly be for as long as you possibly can, and your purpose is to create a service for other people, to help other human beings, then why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah, it's beautiful. You know, when I was doing this research about what you are doing, I was thinking, how is it related to our topic being fearless, right? I realize most of the time in our previous episodes, we always talk about fearless being do it anyway with the fear. And there is a lot of like momentum, like movement, like energy. But I realized from your heart attack event, fearless is also like take it slow. You have can make the decision to be slow and listen to the body rather than always reacting to the outside world, right? So, I realize this is also really another perspective. When we have that courage to make it slow, to listen to ourselves, it's also another fearlessness.
Yeah, it is. And actually as well, it's kind of a lot of the emotions that you have and the impact of stress and things like that comes from the emotion of fear. If you actually boil it down, because I believe, maybe just my belief, that you can boil down all emotion to one of two things. One is fear and one is love.
Yeah.
That's it. You can't, if you drill down right to the bottom, you get one or the other.
I can't agree more.
Awesome.
Only, I think I mentioned that to a friend too. I said that there are only two systems, right? One is based on love. Another is based on fear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But all the things that manifest themselves when you're actually in a fear-based place are the kind of things that come from stress. Because what your body is crying out for you to do and to listen to, it's listen to these signals I'm sending you, listen to these signals, and they get louder and louder until you do. But it's crying out for you to make it feel safe. Because that's what your fight or flight or freeze system is there for. It's only there as a risk management exercise to make you be aware of any risks outside, like in Neanderthal times, a saber-toothed tiger, but we don't get many of those now. But it's that's all it's there for. And until you actually allow your body to feel safe, it will keep on doing that. So that's the fearless. It's the subtraction of fear, to me, anyway.
You mentioned the very important thing is first of all, to notice the body, be aware.
Yeah.
What are other tips for us we can connect closer to our body?
I think the next thing would be, once you are actually aware, it's kind of a form of realignment. So it's thinking about, okay, I'm aware now that things aren't quite right. So there's something I need to tweak. Where am I working, or what am I doing that's not fitting with my values? What's jarring? What is it I'm doing? Where is it that I'm perhaps allowing somebody to cross a boundary, or I'm not creating boundaries? So I'm feeling like I'm being pushed in a direction I don't want to go. So it's actually taking the time to examine where the feelings are coming from, and then working out how you can change those things. And it might not be very much. It might just be creating a boundary. So being better at saying no, for example, instead of just saying yes all the time. And then the last stage would be around embodiment. So it's actually being aware, becoming aware of what it is and listening, working out how you need to realign and what it is you need to realign, and then it's embodying that change. So it's actually taking steps to shift those boundaries, to do those things. And you don't have to do it all at once. Pick one thing. Just pick one thing, because often your mind screams out and your body screams out when you've got too much demand and you don't have the capacity to handle it. So if you slow things down, and even if you're say you're in a busy work environment, say it's a horrible Tuesday in February, it's dark and dismal outside, you've got somebody banging on your door, you've got all these deadlines. Seriously, the best thing you can do for yourself is to stop taking anything else on for 20 minutes, even if it's only 20 minutes. Even if it's only 5 minutes, if you can't afford any more time than that. Stop. Don't look at anything else. Pick one thing that's really easy to clear. And it just allows you that gap to actually feel much more in control of your emotion again, and much more in control of your body.
Tell us a bit more about your brand. You said beautifully it's a team, and you said you're inspired by the Japanese word.
Oh, yeah, yes. One of the things I was doing when I again after the heart attack, because I had more time on my hands after that, was researching lots of things, and I said about nutrition, but I was looking for a way of trying to describe what I wanted to do and how to help people. And I just came across, by accident or design, who knows, universal nudge, a Japanese concept called Kokoro. And Kokoro translates as heart mind, and it's a Japanese belief that everything is interconnected. And I just thought, that's it. So I've now renamed the business to Heart Mind Wellbeing, and because I feel like it represents what I believe, that it's an interconnected system. It's not separate. It all works together. If we were a computer, it would be our operating system with all three parts.
I think like other Japanese words, there's really such enriched meaning in this word. To me, I feel like it's more like the being state.
It is, yes.
Right? It's like when we can do everything with a clear intention.
Yes, because it's all joined together. Because you can't actually separate mind, body, spirit, I don't believe. I think we are connected. We all are. I think we're all, on a spiritual level, I believe we're all connected to each other.
Yeah.
And to everything else that happens to be in the world.
It is beautiful. I think only when we can stay with our body, we can truly take that courage to do the things we want.
Yeah, because to coin a phrase, we're all in. All of us, the whole of us.
Yeah.
Mind, body, spirit is all into that movement and momentum. And that's actually when you get momentum.
Yeah.
And you know that that's the right direction. And again, I go back to the feeling plugged in and being part of it, connected to something bigger than you, is when everything is all fitting together like a beautiful jigsaw.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I'll move to the second part. We have the second word is about being limitless. So from your perspective, what is, for a woman, what is being limitless?
Okay, what's being limitless? Well, one thing I didn't tell you before was that when I first started coaching, Limitless was actually the name of my company that I set up. And I meant to bring it with me today, actually. I have
That's so interesting.
A business card.
My last guest, she is now holding a business called the Limitless Academy. So we all want to be limitless. Yeah.
I think we are, though. I do actually think we are, because I mean, there's various things that show that.
Yeah.
But we put limits on ourselves. It's almost like we have a speed limiter check. Oh no, I can't do that. Oh no, I can't do that. Well, why not? And actually, if you've got a really good friend, or you have somebody really close that can talk to, or a really good coach, then go, well, why can't you do that? And you tend to find that the reason why you think you are limited is because of a set of beliefs that you've had since you were yay high that weren't necessarily yours anyway. You've learned them from other people. And because you've been told no or put boundaries on, it takes a while for you to actually have the courage to step away from them, I think. And I think often for women, it seems to be harder for women to do that because of all the other roles and responsibilities and things that are assigned to them. But for me, being limitless is doing the thing that's in your heart without being worried about how or why, but following your heart, because it wouldn't be in there if it wasn't meant to do some good in the world. But we just stop ourselves. I mean, I've done it myself.
What is the biggest limited belief you think women hold with ourselves?
I don't know, because I actually think it can be different for everybody. I don't think there is one, because it depends on what you're limiting yourself from. In my case, if I was taking all the limits off myself, I would be recording an album.
No.
And it's kind of, but it's kind of, I'm taking them off slowly. So I think it's basically, I think the limits that you have are determined by the experiences you've had. And sometimes it's by, in my case, it was the visibility bit that was limiting me. It's the not wanting to be seen. I'm very happy. I've always been very happy to make things work behind the scenes. And probably that's been to my detriment, because I'll have done a load of work behind the scenes to make sure something happens, but that's not visible to an external person. And it's almost like smoothing the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's something about, historically, and possibly women of my age, maybe more, have been seen in that role. It's sort of like the second in command role, or the person who was actually there to make sure all the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed. And actually stepping into the real leadership role, where it's actually you're the figurehead, you're the one that's in front of the camera, the one that's on the microphone, whatever, is quite daunting sometimes.
It's interesting. You mentioned the singing a few times, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can feel it's really like your red thread, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the dream, the limitless version of yourself.
Yeah.
So that also reminds me, it's so true. Like sometimes when we think about the limitless version, it's always traced back to your younger years. Like at that time, before 7,
Yep.
before 8, what were the things like you were mostly passionate, or I would say in flow zone, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Because it was...
And then it's only the programming, conditioning made us feel like we cannot do that.
Yeah. And the permission bit as well. I was talking about earlier about permission, feeling like that you needed it, or you needed somebody to go, oh, you're really good at that, why don't you do it? Mm. It's almost like something external to you to give you that confidence, whereas you don't actually need that permission, and you don't actually need that external seal of approval. You could just do it. And actually, the older you get, the more you realise that you can just do it. Because what's the worst that can happen?
What was that moment for you? Like you realised
that what you could just do it.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's fairly recently, and it's probably I decided that I gave myself a goal last year of recording an album and just putting it on YouTube, because why not? And I haven't done it yet, and I was before Christmas working out why, and I think that's when I realised it was this issue with visibility. So that's quite a new discovery for me, that's been partly what's been holding me back. So as I said, my word of the year this year is visibility. So the gloves are off and the restraints are off. So this year I am going to do it.
But to a woman who feels this year, I may make the decision that I want to be my fearless self.
Yeah.
What is one thing or one piece of advice you can give them?
Make the decision, but take action on it. So don't just make the decision up here. It needs to be a whole body, and you need to move and take a step towards it, because that taking a step and that forward momentum is what will carry you forward. Just do it, basically. Nike had a great slogan, just do it.
But I love what you said. It's like it's the body-mind embodiment, right? I think I read this because a lot of people, especially intellectual people, we do a lot of research, a lot of study.
Yeah.
Then it feel like you are moving forward, like it's here, right? Like you said, it's like emotion. It's here, but it's not actual movement. So I love what you said. making a decision, move forward, it's also like a body, mind, even soul alignment.
It is absolutely soul, because
Yeah.
the things that you desperately want to do, and the things that are that you always put on a back burner, I'll do it when I've got time, they're the things that are really meaningful for you, that your soul wants you to do. That's because I think you do come here with a purpose, but I don't mean necessarily a purpose to save the world or anything like that, but you come here with a gift for the world, and it's your part of your purpose is to share that, whatever that might be. And I think the danger is, for people who are intellectual and for people who live in their minds, the danger is that your dreams stay in your mind. You don't make them real, because you don't follow through on the process of being aware, realigning to get things out of the way, and then embodying it. The embody bit is the movement. It's the shift, because you have to do something physical with it.
Back to the question, you said everyone could be different on the limited belief, right? So for yourself, like, what is the biggest limited belief we may mention a little bit on that, but I'm still curious, what is one thing you think the biggest belief you have rewired or reframed from your lived experience?
The biggest one, I guess, the biggest one is that I can do anything that I set my mind to, because the only person who's going to get in the way is me. And I'm not prepared to do that anymore. I've done it long enough.
That's beautiful. What's the result if we don't follow that decision, you think?
I don't I have a policy of not regretting anything in my life, because it sounds very sensible. I have a policy, but I do. But I don't regret anything in my life, because basically what you do and what you experience makes you the person you are. But I think the only time you might regret it is if you're on your deathbed and you think, oh, all these years I carried in my heart this desire to do X, Y, or Z, and in my case, it's the singing. So it would be, don't die with your song in your heart, and whatever your equivalent of that song is. That would be a massive regret for me. And we've all got an equivalent of that. The one thing that's so meaningful to you, and it's only you really probably knows how it makes you feel, unless other people can observe it. But you know what it is.
It's beautiful. Okay, we'll move to the last part. It's about being ageless.
Okay.
So we mentioned that you are 64 this year.
No, I'm not. I'm 65 this year.
Oh, really?
Yes. I'm 64 now, but I am 65 this year.
So how I started with this question. How do you think, what's the definition about being ageless?
Okay, ageless to me is that, you see, I think there's a choice about getting old. And I think we have a choice about getting old. We have no choice about getting chronologically older, but being ageless is frame of mind or a frame of reference and a way of being to me, because I don't see myself as an age, and because I'm that age I have to do this or that, and I can't wear this, and I shouldn't do this, and I mustn't listen to this. I love new things. I love new technology. I've really been enjoying playing with AI, for example. And I've been doing that for the last probably 2.5, 3 years. And I love it. And I love finding out about new things. And I think that zest for life and that desire to be, to understand what's going on in the world around you and be part of it is really important. And that to me is ageless, because I've seen so many people describe themselves as, oh, I'm an old lady now. And actually what happens is, as I said to you before, the mind's a great special effects system. The mind will follow, the body will follow what the mind tells it. So if you say, I'm an old lady, you will find that people will, their physical appearance will start to shift. Because they have pigeonholed themselves. And again, there's a study where they took people back, I think it was a group of men, they took them back to the 1950s or the 60s, and basically they lived as if they were in that time for a couple of weeks for a month, and they played the music of the time, so they would have been in their teenage years or their early 20s at that point. And what they found was that physically they improved, their eyesight improved. It was crazy, the things that actually shifted, and that was purely because they'd put them back into an environment in which they recognised themselves at a younger age, and their bodies adapted to that. And it just shows you that we are such complex creations, and there is so much that we have at our fingertips that we can influence, that we don't have to accept. I mean, I understand that I'm not crazy. I do know that if you're 100, you're not going to be doing the same as a 21-year-old. But you see so many people now. Like there's a lady called Joan, I think it is, in America. She trains with her daughter. I think she's 92, and she does workouts. She's as fit as a fiddle. So you place those limitations on yourself and the expectations. So if you expect to be old, you'll be old. And I don't expect to be old.
But did you have that time, like you thought, oh, maybe my prime time was over?
No, because I actually feel like I'm just getting going.
Oh.
And I think part of that is going back to the visibility thing and about holding myself back.
Yeah.
I've done it for such a long time, or I had done it for such a long time, that I'm now so delighted I'm not doing it anymore.
Oh, with the age?
Yeah.
Age?
Yeah. And I think there's something about, because there's also something about, some people are destined to do things when they're younger and have experiences when they're younger, and other people aren't. Their maturity is at a different rate. So I think I've spent too long in the teenage years, and I think I'm now catching up. So I actually don't feel any different or any older than I did probably when I was 30. I mean, I obviously look older, but I don't feel any older. And I think it's I don't know, this is just a joy for life, really. And I think that was I actually got more of that having the threat of losing your life.
Yeah.
I think it makes you much more grateful and much more humble and more determined to do more with the time that you do have left. Because nobody knows. I mean, we all come into the world with a terminal condition. Nobody's getting out alive. So you might as well make the most of the time you have here.
Yeah, exactly. Think about that, because a lot of people say, especially for women, like 40 is like kind of prime time. Then I was like, oh, if we're going to live like 80 or 90, you still have 50 years to go.
Yeah.
How could we just like settled for a so-called older life for 50 years, right? I think that's one of the key challenges. If you put a number or age, aging concept in your mind.
And I agree with you. I think the challenge that we have, and I don't know whether this is particularly women. I think this hits men as well.
Yeah.
Is there's a kind of obsolescence thing that in organisations they seem to think that when you get to like 55, 60, oh no, you're obsolete, but they are missing out on so much because you've gained so much experience, you've got lots of knowledge, you've seen pretty much most things, so you can pattern recognise much more quickly than you can if you're sort of 30, because you haven't got as much experience. So I think there needs to be a societal shift around ageism, absolutely, because at the moment we're just sort of pigeonholed as past your best, past your sell-by date. and I, I'm not going quietly. Why would I?
Love that. So how do you have any tips you can share with us how you can really have this ageless energy and vitality in your daily life?
Don't think about age particularly, because I don't, unless somebody sort of says anything to me about birthdays or something. I never really think about it, so I don't dwell on it. What I have started doing since the heart attack is I now exercise. So as soon as I got back home from hospital, I started going for a walk every day, but only like a short walk because I couldn't walk very far. But I religiously every day go for a walk or do some sort of physical activity now, because sitting at your desk for 10, 12, 8, whatever, however long a day is not good for you. And so I something physical, and I've actually just taken up yoga, which I love. I'm really enjoying it. So physicality, say yes to things before you say no. Because sometimes you restrict your experiences out of, I don't know whether it's out of fear, but it's out of apprehension. But I try and say yes rather than no, because I think you have a much richer life, and that richness and that interest tips over into your relationships as well.
But sometimes it's really hard for someone maybe in 50, 60, have 3 kids and very, packed schedule. How can we ignite that ageless energy in daily life? Maybe just one advice you think.
For me, I think what would perhaps help is often people don't allocate any time for themselves, and it's basically they spend all the time on other people, so on their family, on their husband, on their kids or grandkids. Take the time, even if it's only an hour, do something that matters to you, because remembering who you are helps you to stay more ageless, because it's the essence of who you are. It's that aliveness. If you keep some sort of hold on that, even by spending a little bit of time, I don't know, painting, or I was talking to someone the other day who was telling me that they had because that's one of the questions I ask people who come to me is, what is it in your life that makes you feel alive? And then describe it. And what I mean by that is, it's that feeling when you go out into the world and it feels almost technicolor. The lights are lighter, the trees look greener, everything just feels more real.
Mm-hmm.
What gives you that feeling? Because that's the essence, and that they've had that since they were a child, and that child is still in there. That ageless person, entity, whatever, is still in there. Get them out.
The spirit.
Yes,
And
get them out.
Do you have an ageless role model? You think about ageless. Wow, she is the one.
Not one. There's several. Helen Mirren, I think, is amazing.
I think so.
I think she's amazing because I think she looks amazing. She is a fantastic actress. And she is a bit of a badass, actually, or she comes across as being a bit like that.
That personality, right?
Yes, yeah. And there's something about that. There's a kind of spark, a kind of cheekiness about her that I really think is amazing. And then who else? Who else is ageless? Goldie Hawn is another one, actually, if you want an American one. But I do like Helen Mirren. If I had to pin it down, it would be Helen, I think. Even down to the way she dresses, because she's quietly anarchic.
Uh-huh.
And I just think she's great.
Do you have your ageless dressing policy?
Over 18s? No. Do you know what? I don't go into a shop and think I can only go and buy from this rail.
Uh-huh.
If I wanted to go into Topshop, if there was something I saw, or one of the young fashion places now, River Island, wherever it is, like the high street ones, I would just go in and buy it if there was something that I wanted, because that's more like things that are only there for like a season. But I would probably tend to buy more classic things, but only because they last and they're better cut generally. But I just like dabbling. I don't have any rules, I think is it. I'll if there's something I like, as long as I think I look good in it and I don't look ridiculous, then I would choose to wear it if it made me feel good inside. There was something about don't buy it unless it makes you want to dance.
Oh, that's beautiful. This is the word appeared in my life recent days, like dance.
What's that?
It's like I think someone, usually they push a lot of words to you as the first word you see. But just yesterday, I saw the word dance. I think it's not only real dancing; it's really like the spirit.
Yes.
Dance in life, right? It's
exactly.
Like more playful, relaxed. Like you said, in the flow, and everything look brighter.
Yeah.
I love what you said. Like try to find that moment when you see everything is brighter. That means you are connected.
Yeah. And it is, because it's quite difficult to explain to somebody because everybody's got their own interpretation of it. But it's almost like I remember years ago being told a story about Marilyn Monroe and she was on the subway in America and she was with a reporter. And the reporter was really surprised because he was chatting to her and nobody actually got that it was Marilyn. Nobody was stopping, nobody was saying anything to her. And he was sort of saying, how come nobody's sort of coming for your autograph or anything like that? And she just said, well, just watch this. So she got up and got off the subway. And it was almost like she'd flicked a switch somewhere and the light went on. And basically then people were like, oh, it's Marilyn Monroe. And they recognised it. But that's that's a story that I read years ago. So she obviously understood that there's a way of tapping into that universal flow that actually
That's so interesting.
you can switch on.
Mm.
And I think maybe a lot of actors get that because you can switch into character, can't you?
Mm.
And it's almost like you move into a different gear.
That's interesting. Actually, for normal people, like you said, we can always try and explore.
Yeah.
Right? I love what you said. It's always easier to say no than saying yes. But the way of, since we're talking about ageless, I think being ageless is trying, exploring, is to maybe get more different roles, like you said. Yeah.
It's to just be adventurous.
Adventurous. Yeah.
And I mean, it doesn't mean like going out and climbing Mount Everest. It just means don't automatically stop yourself from trying something different. Because that variety as well, what's the old phrase? A change is as good as a rest.
Mm.
And there's something about just being open enough to give yourself the opportunity to try something.
Yeah. Beautiful. I think we will do the ending part, but you said the practice is like how long time we will
about
do
5 to 8 minutes.
5 to 10?
No, 5 to 8.
5 to 8.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. So I think we'll go to the ending part. The first question is, if you can take the time machine to the time when you were 20 years old, what are the 3 pieces of advice you will give Edith, 20 years old?
Okay. Listen to your body. It's very important. It's your best friend. Don't wait for permission. And just do it.
Mm.
And actually, can I give you one more?
Sure, you can give.
One more, because I love
10
this. I'll give you one more.
Okay.
And the one more is, and it's attached. It was basically one of the organisations that I worked for had 3 fantastic values. It's the only organisation I've worked for that I've remembered all 3 because they're amazing. And one of them I've retained as mine, and it's be your brilliant self.
Be your brilliant self.
And all that means is, it doesn't mean you have to be brilliant all the time. It just means be the whole of who you are. That would be my 3rd one, I think.
That's so brilliant.
It's simple, but it is
What
true.
What is your definitely, I know singing and maybe professionally launching the album. I can see that that's your dream for the next phase, chapter.
That's for me. That's for me.
What else, like in the next maybe 5 or even 10 years, what kind of your vision to yourself, like you want to achieve?
Well, I'm about to finish a book.
Oh.
Which is
what is it about?
It's about the things we've been talking about, and it's about Heart Mind, and about how, well, basically what to do when your mind won't shut up. It's called Thoughtless.
Okay, Thoughtless.
Yes. So it's to help people be free of overthinking. So that, and also the obviously working with people and trying to support people who are at a crossroads in their life and at a transition point. So building up the business and hopefully working more in corporates to try and step in to educate. because I think there's a gap still in terms of how how well-being is managed in organisations. And I think the lived experience that I've had, I think, is helpful to bring it home to people, both from an organisational perspective and from an individual one. So I think that's probably sufficient.
That's wonderful. So before we do the practice, I have the last question I ask every guest, because our brand is Women in the Penthouse,
Yes.
right? So I think I explained a few times, like we want to redefine the penthouse life. Penthouse is not only like the material, right? It's about what we discussed today. It's mind, it's body, it's the whole holistic well-being. I think it's when you have a state of mind of peace, of joy, fearlessness, courage, truth, then your body becomes your penthouse. So you can take this penthouse with you anywhere, right? So every guest leaves one piece Penthouse Rule at the end.
Okay. My Penthouse Rule is don't overthink it.
And just do it.
Yeah.
That's really, really beautiful. Thank you, Edith. I think we have so many wisdom, inspirations from this conversation. And also personally, I get a lot of tips from how we connect with the body and truly be more ageless and limitless. So thank you very much.